very well. There are no complaints, and I hope you understand me more or less. So, thank you for the presentation, and I would like to go on now to Dr. Soji.
I don't know about you, and this is probably why I don't eat lunch. Because after that food that I had, I'm taking that. So I think my first journey now, apart from this presentation, is to figure out how I'm going to keep you awake for the next 15 to 20 minutes. I can guarantee I cannot guarantee, but I'm trying my best possible. Okay? By way of introduction, my name is Soji Omolafe. And I used to make a mistake when somebody asked, hey, where are you from? I say, I'm originally from Nigeria. And then after some time, they're looking at me, what do you mean? You're still from Nigeria. So I stopped using the original. I said, okay, I'm from Nigeria. Okay? And I have been living and working in the United States now for about 30 years. Where I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the Department of Political Science at Norfolk State University, that's in Virginia. A couple of hours from Washington, D.C., for those of you who are not outside today. And I also have the pleasure of serving as the executive director of the Center for African American Public Policy. So I'm representing, well, I'm here in both capacities. First, talk to you about political science, well, not necessarily about political science, but my political science hat on, but more importantly, the African American part of it. Okay. This presentation is very unconventional. People who know me, they don't do that. I hate a lot of trouble. That's okay too. That's good trouble. Okay, like my friend John Louis would say. I'm gonna start with immediately. What about? That's a catch. Okay? Don't close your eyes for a second because you're gonna miss the nuance. The nuance. That's what is very important. And then we'll talk about that after. Before we will start talking about the W.E.B. Okay? Please, roll the tape. Today, I think you just mentioned it a little bit. You talked about identity. What is the African identity? What does it mean? You know, W.E.B. world spent most of his life trying to figure out how to compose that identity, how to define that identity. But most of all, how to make it happen. That's what I'm going to do with you today. I'm going to go into history, but I don't want to remind you of it. I don't want to talk about that. I use that history just as a pretext to explain to you the legacy of W.E.B. That's when we're going to rewind the tape. We're living in a moment right now, and I call it the pause moment. Because when W.E.B. was started, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes with institutions, and the process to achieve that Pan-Africanism is on pause today. It's been on pause for the past 60 years. It's been on pause since he died, since Kwame Nkrumah died. And then fast forward back to the future. Is this going to be on pause forever? Or are we going to do something about it? And if we are going to do something about it, who the heck are we? Are we going to hit the call? We're going to find out. Thank you. What do W.E.B. Du Bois wanted more than anything else? Is to be African. Remember that. This is one of the most highly educated people in his time, person in his time. Black, white, whatever color. A man that was respected not just in the United States, but all over the world. I'm going to say some things that make some of us uncomfortable, but that's okay. That's what we academicians do. Because we talk about identity, and we're all guilty about it. whether you're African or I say especially Africans and African Americans, and I make an exception to Caribbean. And I tell you why. There. W.E.B. wanted us to be one. To be one. Not Nigerian, not Ghanaian, not Yoruba, not Igbo, whatever that tribe is. But you know what? He died a miserable man. He never realized that. These are the institutions. I'm a man of institutions because I like systems. You have political systems, and then you have processes to achieve all those things. Again, a highly intellectual man. So he knew what institutions that he knew the institutions that we need. He wanted to make sure that he had all the tools. The Niagara movement was all about shedding light, spotlighting the successes of Africa. That is, we were there before the Greek civilization. We were there before the European civilization. You know what's most frustrating? Nobody was listening to you. Nobody, let me say that again, nobody was listening to him. That's why I said he died in very miserable way. He actually left the United States because he knew nobody was listening to him, including the African Americans. They were very preoccupied by this, justifiably so, by their own movement. Except for a couple, like you can count them on fingertips. Except for a couple. I bet you, I was not in the room, but if you were anywhere, a fly on the wall, I bet you would say, why are you wasting your time talking about Africa? We have our problems here. It didn't stop there. The NWCP, which was principally is the National Association, it is meant for the advancement of colored people. Look at that name. That's not a fluke. That was not by accident. Association of Colored People. So it's not just in the American, it's in Africa, it's in Caribbean. And my gosh, and even Latin America. Crisis. That magazine, if you look at all the editions of that magazine, you will not read one without something being said about Africans. It's one of the things that I say make us uncomfortable. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about Nigeria because I went to school in Nigeria. Okay. Elementary school, high school, college, university. Nobody ever talked to me about the W.E.B. I just started researching this guy a couple of years ago. And you know what? I will say, I'm going to get in trouble with this one now. I will say that there is no way anybody should teach, whether it's decolonization or independence, without saying that W.E.B. is actually one of the godfathers of independence struggle in Africa. Hello. Kwame Nkrumah. What's his name? T. Where do you think Kwame Nkrumah got that Pan-Africanism ideology from? Right there. Is it by accident that Ghana happens to be a forced country, Black African, 1957 to have independence? No. Because he had a good mentor. It takes a very, very smart man to do what Kwame Nkrumah did. And those two people, I don't do the hero thing very often. They are my heroes. Can I say that? They are my heroes. But they're in trouble again now. I will put Kwame Nkrumah, I will put W.E.B. as great as Nelson Mandela is. We're talking about African history, local history. I put them in before Nelson Mandela. And I'm on tape, and I don't have a drop for that. So me, the Pan-African Congresses. It was all over the place. The Caribbean, they could go to Africa then because Africa was still colonized. And we didn't have infrastructure. They went all over Europe. But you think the Pan-African Congresses were, it was not for civil rights in the United States. What did he say? He said freedom for Africa is freedom for the United States. To him, it does not make any sense that people in the United States will be free to vote, to do whatever they do, what he wants them to do, if Africa is not free, if Africa is not independent. This is what I'm telling you, folks. W.E.B. Bois was an African. If he was not born in Africa, he didn't even know him. He didn't realize it. That's a joke. But everything that he did, everything that he stood for, and I even add that he died for, was for Africa. Next slide, please. So that's the pathway. What was his vision of getting that African unity, that Pan-African ideology to work? I like this. Intellectual leadership. And towards the end, I'm going to be talking about the role of colleges and universities. Because that church was lost. He stressed the importance of educated leadership in the Pan-African movement. Yeah, you're right. He didn't quite agree with Marcus Garvey. But guess who? Because Marcus Garvey is a dead good copy. He actually disagrees more with Booker T. Washington than he did with Marcus Garvey. Because his vision for African independence, and independence for him is not just political independence, but for the respect that he thinks that every man, every woman of this dark skin deserves. That was his life's work. Cultural identity. This is one of my favorites. Remember I told you, I said watch out for the nuances. When people watch that movie. Oh, clip, whatever it is. When Akomolafe started talking about Nigeria, especially when he started singing that song, the Nigerians in the audience, they stood. Some of them, they sing the song and so on and so forth. Yeah. But here's one thing. Not that they were angry when they said, oh, by the way, I'm Ghanaian. They were dying. They were like, but did you hear that? Oh, like there was, I'm not saying you should not see yourself as Nigerian. I'm not saying you should not see yourself as Ghanaian, Senegalese, or whatever. I say that to make this point. Cultural pride. You can't have it. Everybody needs to have identity. Nobody's saying that you should give up your identity. One of the mistakes that I think we're making, and that's why I think this Pan-African ideology, Afghanistan ideology may not even work at all, is that we are not able to go beyond, to transcend that cultural pride. The reason why this is so important, and I've seen this happen so many times in the United States, listen to this very thing, folks. Because I'm giving myself as an example. I'm very guilty of this. Okay? I told somebody, I was sharing, I don't know whether it's this controversial. I have a Jamaican story to tell too. My nephew is married to a Jamaican. His daughter plays soccer, like professional soccer. Where's the beginning? She's out. And she's playing for a team in Scotland right now. And I was just told a couple of weeks before I came that she's actually going to represent Jamaica in the next World Cup. She's in the United States. She actually offered to represent the Jamaican team. She could have done everything to join the American team. If she didn't make it, she probably would not say, okay, oh, because once I play for the Jamaican team, then I might not come, be eligible to play in. I don't know how that works. But that's transcending that. It's not that she's not proud of being American. You understand? But you can be two things at the same time. That is what he was trying to tell us. We can be two things at. I am African American. That's not me. That's not me. I am African American. But guess what? That does not disturb me. That does not prevent me from embracing my African origin. So that's why I'm laying down on it. Embrace the African because it's a tool of empowerment. It's a tool of empowerment. Trauma. That was why when the president was talking about trauma African people, they just listen. James Rogers, right? You know what? They get out on TV, but I say this. There used to be a time that I was ashamed of my accent. Like, when I get to some place and I'm like, what does that even mean? That's my identity. That is my identity. So when W.E.B left the United States to come to Africa, to come together, you know what that means? Because he recognized that was his identity. People who would not follow him, people would, okay, yeah, they don't have electricity, they don't have this, nothing matters anymore at that point in time. Because if you see yourself as something that you see, that you know represents you, then that's you. I don't do that anymore. Next time, I'm almost finished now. Yeah. I give you 2 minutes. Okay, I get only one. Next time, what? No, that's internationalization. Many people didn't know. Many people didn't know about Africa. We didn't know about Africa. When they say we are talking about African Americans, it's thanks to W.E.B. Next time. Yeah. So when the pause moment. We are in the pause moment, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the media. We were talking about the media yesterday. We are not doing anything since Kwame Nkrumah died, since W.E.B. died. Nobody, whether it's in the United States, anywhere, nobody's even talking about those institutions. I'm not saying you should have those institutions, but we replace them with anything. The African movement, we replace that with anything. The Pan-African Congress, we replace that with anything. When was the last time? We have sort of matches and all these things. When was the last time we had associations and gatherings and events like the W.E.B. Okay? You can look at that. Deficit of institutions, cultural influence, tensions and misunderstandings, the economic success. I think that's the last slide. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think